Mr Speaker, he mihi nui ki te wiki o te reo Māori. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by his statement about equal pay for women? Quote, the law at the moment actually provides quite clearly that it's against the law to discriminate on the basis of gender, unquote.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, it's prohibited under the Human Rights Act 1993, the Employment Relations Act 2000, the Equal Pay Act 1972.
Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker. How can a woman take a successful case under the Equal Pay Act without information about rates of pay by gender in her workplace?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I'm just not in a position to advise an individual person when they take a case before the courts, but I'm sure that they are in a position to gather information when one looks at employment which is in the same area.
Catherine Delahunty.
How can the current law be enforced when employers such as the Bank of New Zealand have refused to release salary data to those who are concerned about gender pay discrimination?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I'm not responsible for the BNZ's policies.
Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker. Is it not the case that it's very difficult for a woman to find out whether she's being paid less than a man doing the same job because there is currently no requirement for employers to disclose this information?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, for privacy reasons, it's not generally possible for any person, irrelevant of their gender, to find out actually why somebody earns more or less. There are a number of reasons why there is a gender pay gap in New Zealand, which currently sits at 10.6%. But I should say, Mr Speaker, that at one level New Zealand is to be congratulated because, at least in terms of the gender pay gap, ours is the third lowest in the OECD.
Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary. Will he consider adopting the Green Party's Equal Pay Amendment Bill, which requires employers to report on gender pay rates in their workplaces and release aggregated information on gender pay to employees on request? If not, why not?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, as the bill hasn't been drawn from the ballot, we haven't had an opportunity to consider it as a caucus yet. But can I say to the member, there's probably more chance of Happy Feet having a holiday in Honolulu than there is of your bill ever being drawn, because the Labour Party are filibustering their entire time around the voluntary student member bill.
Order. 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 Now, members have had their bit of fun. We'll have some order. Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary. What is his government's plan to reduce the gender pay gap and ensure the Equal Pay Act is being enforced, apart from more research?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I'm glad the member asked that question. She'll be aware that in 2009 the government put $2 million into the Ministry of Women's Affairs. They are doing a number of things, which include conducting research on what employers can do to encourage more women into trades and what works to encourage more women into trades, setting up women in trades networks in Wellington and Auckland, making the case for flexible work within the accountancy sector, research on the career choice of secondary school years and how this has changed over time.
Order, point of order, Catherine Delahunty.
I very specifically asked the Prime Minister what he was doing, what they were doing other than research on the specific matter of the gender pay gap.
Well, I think the Prime Minister did actually outline a range of issues. It just wasn't research that the Prime Minister outlined.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Catherine Delahunty.
He outlined a range of issues to do with women in unfamiliar trades and research. He did not talk about the gender pay gap in any shape or form.
Well, the member's got a further supplementary question. I mean, I can't judge the quality of an answer. It seemed to me the Prime Minister did answer the question, and the member has a further supplementary to pursue the detail of that. Catherine Delahunty. Well, point of order.
Oh, sorry, Mr Speaker, I just haven't finished the answer.
I think the Prime Minister had gone order. I think the Prime Minister had outlined quite sufficient initiatives. Catherine Delahunty, supplementary.
Is his comment that, quote, he hopes people were not being paid differently because of their gender, an example of the political leadership women are looking for on this issue?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no, it reflects the fact that I hope that employers follow the law as prescribed under the Human Rights Act 1993, the Employment Relations Act 2000, the Equal Pay Act 1972. And Mr Speaker, I go back to the comment I made earlier that while the gender pay gap sits at 10.6%, it is the third lowest in the OECD. There are also a number of contributing factors of why that might be the case. But one of them is that the labour market in New Zealand is highly segregated. About half of all men and women work in occupations where at least 70% of workers are the same gender. And so comparison across one number across the entire workplace is actually a misleading number from time to time.
Question number 2, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I beg your